Your grandfather ensured that every single withdrawal from your trust was documented. Miss Donovan.
Claire's fingers whitened on the armrest. She'd lived through the theft once, but the proof was worse. Aldridge flipped open the folder. A thick stack of printed transaction records, each page highlighted in yellow. Every debit matched a wedding expense. Venue, flowers, open bar, paid from Claire's future.
The trust's monitoring system flagged these as irregular. Your grandfather's instructions: preserve all flags until you were of age.
So he knew they might take it. He planned for this before I understood money.
Claire's jaw locked. She spent years scraping through school, silent, believing no one could hold them accountable. 6 months earlier, she logged in to pay the final tuition bill. The balance, 0. She stared, refreshed, stared again. The account had been drained in a dozen large transfers.
Not a mistake. Every line signed by Richard Donovan?
She called the trust department. The rep confirmed, all withdrawals authorized by Richard Donovan. Claire grabbed her coat and drove to their house. The drive was a blur. Her hands shook on the wheel, replaying the bank's flat confirmation. She found them in the dining room, wrapping gold-ribboned wedding favors in delicate tissue paper.
Mom, Dad, my college fund is empty. I want to know exactly what happened to it.
It was family money, Claire. We put it toward Brandon's wedding. It was a family decision.
Grandfather created that trust specifically for my education, not for a wedding. You had no right.
Brandon needed that day to be perfect. You can take out student loans like everyone else. It's not a tragedy.
Stop being dramatic. There are millions of students with loans. You'll pay them off eventually.
They drained a trust that was never theirs to touch, and they call me dramatic. They stole my future.
Claire walked out of the house without another word. She would finish school on her own terms, and she would never forget. She took a job at a coffee shop before sunrise, serving lattes to strangers who assumed she had money too. After shifts, she studied in the library until closing, textbooks stacked like barricades. On the bus, she stared at her scuffed shoes, already coming apart. One night, she saw her parents' new social media post. Final fitting for Helen's mother of the groom dress. Gown cost $3,200. Worth every cent for our baby.
The dress cost more than her entire tuition.
She repaired her flats with duct tape for another year. On graduation day, she stood in rented robes, shook the dean's hand with calloused fingers. Later, her parents posted a photo of the wedding. 5-tier cake, captioned, "Best wedding ever." She hung her diploma next to her grandfather's photo. The theft hadn't broken her. It had sharpened her. She returned to her parents' house on a weekday when they were out and went straight to the study her grandfather had used when he visited. The room smelled of old leather and dust. On the desk, a framed photo of the two of them on the day he opened her trust.
He told me it would protect my future. I didn't realize he meant from my own parents.
She lifted the frame. Tucked behind it was a business card. Margaret Aldridge, trust officer. Suddenly, she was 14 again, standing at the bank counter with her grandfather's hand steady on her shoulder.
This account is for your future, Claire. I've made sure it's protected, no matter what.
She blinked back the sting of tears and slid the card into her pocket. That evening, she called the number and left a message detailing the withdrawals, requesting a full investigation. Within a day, Miss Aldridge returned the call. Her voice was cautious but clear. "There are records we've been holding for you, Miss Donovan. Your grandfather left instructions for exactly this moment."
These are not routine irregularities, Miss Donovan. I can only discuss them in person, with proper verification.
Just tell me if my parents took the money. I already know they did. What more is there?
Your grandfather built consequences into the trust. The paper trail is extensive, but this conversation must happen at the bank.
Consequences. He planned consequences. She's not telling me everything.
They set an appointment for the next morning. Claire barely slept. She arrived at the bank early. the building's brass doors heavy with a decade of her grandfather's silence. A receptionist led her to a private trust office. Margaret Aldridge rose from behind the desk.
Thank you for coming so quickly. I want you to understand. The trust didn't just protect the money, it documented every misuse.
She slid a heavy folder from a drawer, the kind that held decades of careful monitoring.
Every misuse. She made it sound like a vault of evidence just waiting for me.
Aldridge opened the folder to the first page. It was a log of every transaction flagged by the trust.
These are the withdrawals from the account. Each one required a co-signature from the trust officer, which was forged.
She saw her father's name, the date, and the amount, $12,000 for the venue deposit.
So he didn't just take the money. He forged the trust officer's signature.
Aldridge turned the page. A series of smaller transfers, each flagged. The band, the flowers, the photographer. Another page, a wire transfer for $8,000, directly to the bridal boutique.
Every one of these transactions violated the trust's terms. Your parents treated it as a personal account.
It wasn't a one-time mistake. It was systematic. They planned it.
She looked up at the trust officer, her voice barely above a whisper.
The total, with interest, exceeds $120,000, Miss Donovan.
The number landed like a physical blow. Claire steadied herself on the armrest.
The trust flagged every transfer as irregular the moment your father tried to bypass the co-signature.
But if it was flagged, why didn't the bank stop it? Why let it happen?
Aldridge opened a copy of the trust document, pointing to a clause at the bottom.
The trust required the beneficiary to initiate action upon reaching the age of majority. Your grandfather insisted on that.
So the whole time, this evidence was locked up, waiting until I was old enough to use it.
She pointed to the next page, a calculation of compounding interest over 4 years.
The trust terms label this as unauthorized conversion. The liability attaches personally to the signatories.
Claire heard the word clearly. Liability. It meant her parents owed her.
How do I enforce it?
Aldridge didn't answer directly. Instead, she pulled a slim envelope from the folder.
That's his handwriting. She's kept this for years, waiting for me.
Your grandfather instructed that this be opened now, after you'd seen the full record.
Claire broke the seal. The letter was short, the ink still dark after all those years. My dearest Claire, if you are reading this, it means my trust in others was misplaced, but my trust in you was not.
He knew it would happen. This isn't just proof, it's a verdict.
Any unauthorized use triggers forfeiture of their inheritance. The bank will enforce it fully, but only at your word. The next line stopped her breath. She read it twice.
The choice is entirely yours, Miss Donovan. You can enforce full liability or forgive entirely. He wanted you to decide.
Claire looked up. The weapon was in her hands, but so was the burden of mercy. The silence stretched. Claire saw 2 futures, one where she bankrupted her parents, another where she swallowed the theft and forgave.
If I destroy them, I become what they claimed I was. If I forgive, they learn nothing. I can't let this slide. But I don't want to destroy my family. Is there another option?
The trust permits the beneficiary to redirect recovered funds for charitable or educational purposes.
The word educational lingered. Claire remembered the library nights, the textbooks she couldn't afford.
Students like me, working full-time, never knowing there was money to help them. Could the repayment fund a scholarship for first-generation students? In my grandfather's name?
The trust does not forbid it, but the funds must be reclaimed from your parents first.
So they have to face what they did, but the money won't disappear. It'll become a legacy.
Claire folded the letter carefully. The choice wasn't between vengeance and surrender. It was between destruction and creation. She set the letter aside and met Aldridge's eyes with a calm she hadn't felt in years.
I want to create the Arthur Donovan Memorial Scholarship for first-generation students, but the money has to come from them.
The trust will require a formal letter of intent to pursue repayment. I can draft it today.
Claire nodded. She asked for a copy of every document, every flagged withdrawal, the forged signatures, the interest calculation.
These are your property. Use them wisely. And remember, confrontation is not negotiation.
I am not seeking revenge. I am holding them accountable, and then I am letting the money do something good.
Aldridge photocopied the folder, while Claire stared at the letter one last time.
This isn't about hurting them, it's about honoring him.
She stood, clutching the folder against her chest like a shield. By evening, she would be back in her parents' living room. The evidence spread before them. Claire didn't knock. She walked into the living room and set the folder on the coffee table.
Sit down. I am only going to say this once.
She opened the folder, spreading the flagged receipts and the trust document across the table.
What is this, Claire? You are invading our home with paperwork.
Every dollar you stole, every forged signature, the bank tracked it all. Grandfather planned for you.
You took this to lawyers behind our backs? We are your parents.
I am not here for revenge. I've designed a way for you to make this right. Repay the full amount into a scholarship in his name. If you refuse, the trust enforces forfeiture.
Richard's face drained of color. Helen began to cry, her hands trembling over the evidence.
You have 2 weeks. The copies are yours to keep.
Richard and Helen Donovan spent 3 frantic days calling every attorney they knew, demanding a challenge. The answer was unanimous. The trust was ironclad. Contesting it would drain them further. Helen switched tactics. She called Claire's phone, her voice thick with practiced tears.
Please, honey. We can solve this as a family. Don't do this to your brother.
Claire let it ring. Then the second call. Then the third, all ignored.
She's not remorseful. She's just afraid of losing the inheritance.
Claire instructed Aldridge to manage all communication. She wouldn't be manipulated.
But what about Brandon? He doesn't need to know any of this. It wasn't his fault.
Through Aldridge, Claire sent a single message. Brandon deserves the truth. I'll tell him myself. The house fell silent. They had no threats left, no bargaining chips. Only the truth they'd tried to bury. She met Brandon at a quiet coffee shop the morning after he returned from his honeymoon.
Thank you for coming. There's something you need to see.
She slid the folder across the table. He opened it, frowning at the flagged receipts.
What is this? The venue, the flowers. This is my wedding. Why do you have this?
Because it was paid for with my college fund. Every cent. I wanted you to hear it from me.
Numb. No, that's impossible. They wouldn't, but the dates match. The amounts. They did. They actually did. I am so sorry, Claire. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know.
I believe you, and I don't blame you, but I need your help to make it right.
He covered his face, shoulders shaking. When he looked up, his eyes were wet but fierce.
Tell me what to do. I'll do anything. Whatever it takes to fix this.
I want the repayment to fund a scholarship in Grandpa's name, for students like us.
That's perfect. He would love that. I am in, completely.
His words came fast, as if saying them was the only way to burn off the shame.
I am returning every wedding gift. Every single one. I can't keep any of it. And my savings, all of it. It's only $20,000, but it's yours. If that's not enough, I'll match the original amount. However long it takes, I'll talk to Mom and Dad. With you, they won't get away with this.
He's not just apologizing, he's ready to sacrifice.
They spent the next hour outlining the scholarship criteria and a repayment schedule. That evening, Claire and Brandon walked into their parents' living room together. No folder this time, just the two of them.
I know everything, and I am ashamed to be your son.
Brandon, we only wanted...
You wanted a perfect wedding. You stole from Claire to get it. I'll never accept another thing from you.
His voice didn't rise, but it cut deeper than any shout.
I just wanted to give you what I never had. I didn't think.
We were wrong. We're so sorry.
Sorry won't repay her. But we will. We're funding the scholarship together. You'll sign the agreement tonight.
Richard's head dropped. Helen sobbed into her hands. The resistance was gone. Claire stood silent, watching the family she'd fought for finally bend toward justice. The following Monday, Aldridge called Claire with the final confirmation. The scholarship was now legally established.
The scholarship account is open, Miss Donovan. The funds will be dispersed according to the criteria you've submitted.
Claire spent the next days with Brandon, refining the scholarship criteria. First-generation students, need-based, community college transfer. Brandon walked in carrying a box of returned wedding gifts, every piece transformed into cash for the fund. He deposited every dollar of it into the scholarship account, then added his own savings. Meanwhile, the first of their parents' monthly payments arrived. A small but irreversible step.
Every payment chips away at the debt. But more than that, it builds his legacy.
They announced the Arthur Donovan Memorial Scholarship with a small gathering at the college, inviting professors and local leaders. The invitations had been sent, the banner hung, the grandfather's photo placed center stage. Everything was ready. In 3 days, the world would see what family money truly meant. On the morning of the ceremony, the auditorium filled with faculty, students, and local journalists.
My grandfather believed education was the only inheritance that couldn't be stolen.
She spoke of the trust he built, designed to withstand those who would misuse it.
None of this would exist without my brother, Brandon. When he learned the truth, he acted with integrity.
At the back of the room, Richard and Helen Donovan stood in the shadows, listening.
Tonight, I am honored to name the first 2 recipients, Maria Torres and James Okonkwo.
The room erupted in applause, the first of many such moments to come. The next morning, the local paper ran a headline, "A Legacy Restored. Donovan Scholarship Honors Grandfather's Vision." The article detailed the scholarship's origins without scandal, focusing on the grandfather's foresight and the family's eventual unity. Claire folded the paper and set it beside the framed photo of the man who started it all. In the weeks following the ceremony, the scholarship fund quietly grew, with donations from strangers moved by the story.
We're having a small vow renewal. Just family, no extravagance. It feels right this time.
The ceremony in the park had only 10 chairs and flowers from Helen's garden. No debt, no guilt, just a quiet promise.
I am glad you are here. All of you. For a long time, I wasn't sure this moment would exist.
Your mother and I understand if you can't fully trust us yet, but we're trying.
Every month when I write that check, I think of your grandfather. He'd be proud of you.
Proud of all of us. Maybe? Eventually?
The meal passed with cautious conversation, lighter than any talk they'd had in years. The grandfather's framed portrait on the shelf seemed to listen.
To Grandpa. And to second chances.
In the quiet after dinner, Claire looked at the faces around her table, bruised, imperfect, but still there. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was something close. A crisp autumn morning found Claire walking the campus where the scholarship was now housed. She paused near the administrative building. A young woman clutched a letter to her chest, tears streaming. The girl whispered a thank you into her phone, then laughed, a sound of pure, unburdened relief.
That was me 4 years ago. 1 missed payment from dropping out. Now she gets to stay.
Claire found a quiet bench and opened a small journal she'd carried for years. He knew they would take it, but he also knew I would turn it into something better. That was his real gift.
It was never just about the money. It was about the choice, and I made the right one.
She looked up, watching students hurry past, each one ignorant of the battle that bought their opportunity. For the first time in years, the anger was gone, replaced by a quiet, steady pride. She closed her eyes, feeling the autumn sun, and let herself be still. That evening, alone in her apartment, Claire sat at the desk that had once belonged to her grandfather. She placed his framed photograph beside her, alongside the cream envelope he had left for her. She uncapped a pen and began to write, the words coming as easily as breathing. "Dear Grandpa, the scholarship bore your name today. Brandon was the first to stand beside me. You trusted me to make the hard choice. I chose to build instead of break." She signed her name, blotted the ink, and slipped the letter into a fresh envelope. Then she opened the old wooden memory box, where she kept his pocket watch, and placed the letter inside. She closed the box and rested her hand on his photograph, her fingers brushing the glass. She didn't cry. She smiled, A smile full of years, full of battles, full of peace. The grandfather's photo smiled back, as if he had known all along. A student studied under a green lamp, the scholarship award letter open among her notes. On the plaque beside his portrait, a line of students' names grew longer each semester. At the annual renewal, a quiet crowd gathered. Claire stood in the back, invisible. Brandon, now a volunteer mentor, caught her eye from across the room and nodded. She felt no need to speak. The legacy spoke for itself. A first-generation student stepped to the podium and thanked the Donovan family. Afterward, Claire walked out into the dusk, Brandon falling into step beside her. He said nothing, just bumped her shoulder lightly, like they were kids again. The scholarship wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something that would outlive them all. And in the quiet campus twilight, the photograph in her apartment seemed to watch over it all. A soft breeze stirred the cemetery grass as Claire approached her grandfather's headstone.
We did it, Grandpa. Your money grew into a forest.
She knelt and placed a copy of the scholarship brochure at the base of the stone. The brochure's cover showed the scholarship name and the date of the first award. She traced the engraved letters of his name, her smile trembling. Forest was the right word. Roots from his trust, branches in every student who would never be stopped by money again. She stood, looking up at the pale sky. A single tear slipped free, but it was a tear of peace. In that quiet moment, the decades of sorrow and betrayal were finally buried alongside him. She walked away, leaving the brochure on the grass. The wind would carry the story. The screen fades gently to black, leaving only the memory of a grandfather's love and a granddaughter's grace.